All right, so get this. Today we're going deep on Derek Sivers.
Derek Sivers.
Yeah, you know the guy who built CD Baby?
Oh, yeah.
Sold it for $22 million.
Wow.
Musician turned entrepreneur.
Interesting combo.
It is, and his story, well, it's not your typical business success story.
I'm intrigued.
We've got his book, Anything You Want, a Vietnamese book review, even a YouTube summary to add to the mix.
Sounds like we've got a lot to unpack.
Definitely. I'm really curious how these sources connect, what kind of unconventional wisdom we can find.
Yeah, that's what I love about these deep dives. Always something unexpected.
Exactly. So first thing that struck me about Sivers, he's not your typical, profit-obsessed entrepreneur.
Right. You could definitely see his musician background influencing his approach to business.
Totally. He's driven by passion, not just money.
It's refreshing, actually, in the business world.
For sure. Take, for instance, the story of how CD Baby even got started.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't some master plan to take over the music industry, He just wanted to sell his own music online.
Makes sense.
He actually called the existing systems an awful racket.
So he took matters into his own hands.
Exactly. Created his own solution.
Classic scratch-your-own-itch story.
Right. But what's amazing is that personal solution turned into a business that helped thousands of musicians.
Yeah, and he did it all without any outside funding. That's pretty remarkable.
I was surprised by that, too. He actually sees that, starting with no funding, as a strength.
Interesting.
He talks about the whole dot-com boom, compares it to this frenzy of empty promises, entrepreneurs more focused on raising capital than building something of value.
So bootstrapping kept him grounded.
I think so. Do you think that's what allowed him to stay true to his vision?
It definitely played a role. Bootstrapping forces you to be resourceful, laser-focused on generating revenue from day one.
Makes sense.
It's like that lean startup methodology, building a minimum viable product, testing it, iterating.
In Sivers, he built the first version of CD Baby in just a few days with only $500. Even taught himself programming so he wouldn't have to hire expensive developers.
It's dedication.
It really is. And it allowed him to keep control, adapt quickly, stay true to his vision of helping musicians.
It's a powerful example of challenging the go big or go home mentality.
Totally. He was like David taking on the Goliath of the music industry, shoestring budget and a DIY spirit.
And he thrived. But how?
Well, that's where his customer centricity comes in. It wasn't just selling music, it was building a community, an experience.
An experience.
Yeah, remember that email about the private CD Baby Jet?
Oh, yeah, that was brilliant.
Pure genius, funny, memorable, went viral.
Cost him next to nothing.
Exactly. But it wasn't just a gimmick.
It showed their commitment to going above and beyond for their customers.
It humanized the brand.
You're right. Made it feel like real people were behind it, people who cared.
And it wasn't a one-time thing.
No.
He made it a point to answer the phone quickly, have real conversations with customers, even fulfill special requests.
All for the price of a pizza.
Seriously. It's amazing what those small touches can do.
They build loyalty.
Absolutely. He understood that people crave a personal connection, especially in an industry that can feel so impersonal.
He really put the customer experience at the forefront of every decision.
It seems like it. Even his approach to saying no.
Oh, how so?
He was incredibly selective about what he said yes to in business and life.
Makes sense.
Only pursued things that excited him.
To avoid burnout.
Maybe, but it allowed him to stay focused on what mattered.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. He refused to accept major label artists on CD Baby.
Even though it could have been profitable.
It went against his mission of supporting independent musicians.
Principle over profit.
Exactly. And don't forget his aversion to advertising on the website.
Oh, right. He compared it to putting a Coke machine in a monastery.
He felt it would cheapen the experience, clutter the interface.
Again, prioritizing the user experience over short-term profits.
He understood that every element contributes to the overall brand identity.
So by saying no, he created a cohesive and authentic brand.
One that resonated deeply with his target audience.
It's pretty impressive.
It is. But there's this other element that keeps popping up in the sources.
That's that.
The Tao.
The Tao.
Yeah, it's mentioned in the book, the review, even the YouTube summary.
I'm curious now, how does ancient philosophy fit into Sivers' business approach?
That's what I want to find out.
All right, let's dive in. The Tao, it's often associated with this idea of effortless action.
Effortless action.
Yeah, achieving success through these counterintuitive methods.
Interesting.
It's about surrendering to the flow, focusing on the journey, not obsessing over the destination.
And how does that connect to Sivers?
Well, think about it. He didn't force growth. He didn't chase profits relentlessly. He focused on providing value to musicians, trusting that success would follow naturally.
Like that saying, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Exactly. By creating value for others, he created value for himself and his business.
Pretty profound when you think about it.
It's reflected in a lot of his decisions, too.
Oh, like what?
Well, he was willing to shut down CD Baby if musicians no longer needed it.
Really?
And he even donated the company to charity.
Wow.
He said he already had enough.
That's a powerful concept, this idea of having enough.
It really challenges the narrative of always wanting more.
It does. But even with this, effortless approach, did Sivers ever face any challenges?
Oh, definitely. One example is his struggle with delegation.
Delegation?
Yeah. At first, he tried to do everything himself.
The classic self-employment trap.
Exactly. Always working, but never feeling like he was making real progress.
I know that feeling.
It took a near mutiny at CD Baby for him to realize he needed to change.
Wait, a mutiny? What happened?
So he wanted to empower his employees, right?
Yeah.
So he gave them complete control over profit sharing.
Sounds good in theory.
It was, but it backfired.
How so?
It created all these unintended consequences, conflicts, a feeling that he'd abandoned his responsibility.
Yikes. So good intentions can backfire.
They can. Finding that balance between empowering employees and maintaining a clear vision, it's tough.
So how did Sivers turn things around?
He realized that delegation isn't about giving away control, but building systems.
The systems.
Yeah, empowering his team to make decisions, but within a clear framework.
So he had a setback.
He did. Stopped going to the office, turned off his phone, focused on developing processes.
Processes that would allow the company to run smoothly without him.
Exactly. He became more of an architect, designing the structure.
Instead of the superhero always swooping in to save the day.
Exactly. And this approach extended to his hiring practices, too.
How so?
Forget formal interviews, lengthy applications.
Really?
He'd often hire based on recommendations from his team.
Like, hey, anyone have a friend who needs a job?
Pretty much. Start tomorrow.
That's a bold strategy.
It is, but it speaks to his trust in his employees, his belief in building a strong culture.
A culture based on shared values.
Yeah, exactly. Skills can be taught, but finding the right people, that's key.
It created this sense of community, loyalty within the company.
You can't underestimate the power of that.
Totally. And Sivers, he constantly challenged those traditional business practices.
Oh, yeah. Any other examples?
Well, there's the story about how he quit his first job.
Oh, no.
Instead of just giving notice, he went above and beyond.
He did. What did he do?
He found and trained his own replacement.
Wow. That's dedication.
He called it naive quitting.
Naive quitting.
Yeah, he didn't follow the script because he didn't know it existed.
Makes sense.
He just acted in a way that felt right to him, prioritizing a smooth transition.
Smooth transition for everyone else.
Exactly. Shows a real sense of responsibility.
It also highlights this key aspect of this philosophy, acting with integrity.
Doing what you believe is right, even when it's not the easy path.
And that extended to his customer service as well.
Oh, yeah.
He would respond personally to negative feedback.
Really?
Often went to great lengths to address concerns. Refunds, exceeding expectations, whatever it took to make things right.
It's like he saw complaints as opportunities.
Opportunities to learn and improve.
It shows a real commitment to building genuine relationships with customers.
Not just viewing them as transactions.
So it's not just about getting customers, it's about cultivating loyalty.
Exactly. Through respect, consistently exceeding expectations.
That seems to be a recurring theme with Sivers.
It is. And even his views on business plans are unconventional.
Oh, how so?
He believes they should be simple, flexible documents.
Not these long, complex things you often hear about.
But he thinks the best ones can be written in minutes.
Wow. I'm sensing a pattern here. Simplicity, adaptability, breaking free from the rules.
That's Sivers in a nutshell. He embraces uncertainty, encourages entrepreneurs to be open to change.
To adapt as they learn, grow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He uses CD Baby as an example. Remember, it started as a credit card processing service.
Right.
It was only because a customer thought it was a music store that he pivoted.
So a simple misunderstanding led to a major shift.
It's amazing how serendipity and customer feedback can shape a business.
It really is. It highlights the importance of being open to new ideas.
Embracing flexibility, adapting based on real-world feedback.
Sivers calls this the switching mentality.
Switching?
Yeah, like in songwriting.
Oh, yeah. How so?
A songwriter might write tons of songs before finding one that connects.
Makes sense.
Sivers believes entrepreneurs should be the same, experiment, try different approaches, switch if something's not working.
It's about iterating, constantly seeking improvement,
Not being stubborn or afraid to fail.
but being willing to learn, adapt, and find what works.
And this principle goes beyond business, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sivers applies it to personal growth too.
Like experimenting with lifestyles, careers.
Exactly. Even personalities, to discover what feels most authentic.
It's like he's saying the only way to truly know yourself is to push beyond your comfort zone.
Explore different possibilities. Embrace the unexpected.
Break free from limitations. Embrace the unknown.
That sense of exploration, openness to new experiences, it's key for him.
As you're talking, one thing that really stands out to me is Sivers' emphasis on communication.
Communication.
Yeah, in the book, he talks about feeling pain when your message isn't clear.
Oh, right. He learned that the hard way with those CD baby email blasts.
If his message wasn't crystal clear, thousands of confused replies cost him time, money, stress.
So unclear communication had real consequences.
It did. It's a reminder that words matter, especially when you're talking to a lot of people.
It made him realize the importance of being concise, direct, avoiding ambiguity.
Whether it's an email, a website, even just a conversation.
Clear communication builds understanding, trust.
And it minimizes those costly misunderstandings.
Exactly. And speaking of misunderstandings, remember that story about his dad owning 90% of CD Baby?
Oh, yeah, that was a tough one.
It highlights the importance of clear communication, especially with legal and financial stuff.
Seeking professional advice, reviewing contracts carefully.
Making sure you understand everything you're agreeing to.
It's a cautionary tale for sure.
It emphasizes the need for clarity, transparency, especially in family businesses or big financial transactions.
So clear communication, it can really save you a lot of trouble down the line.
Absolutely.
But switching gears a bit, Sivers selling CD Baby, it wasn't just about the money, right?
No, not at all.
It seemed like he felt he'd accomplished what he set out to do.
Yeah, like he was ready for a new challenge?
He was hesitant at first, but then he realized his lack of excitement was a sign
A sign of what?
that it was time for a change.
Interesting. So instead of seeing it as a failure, he recognized that holding on could actually hurt the company.
Right. The bigger challenge was letting go.
Letting go of something he built from scratch.
It takes a lot of self-awareness to do that.
It does. And it ties back to his philosophy of having enough.
Not about always wanting more, but knowing when you're fulfilled.
Exactly. And this brings us back to that question Sivers asks. What does your business utopia look like?
What are you willing to do differently to get there?
It's a good question to consider.
It challenges us to rethink our own ideas of success.
And to define what truly matters to us in business and in life.
Sivers, he definitely encourages us to question the status quo,
To prioritize passion and purpose.
to build something that aligns with our values.
So, for our listener, what are some key takeaways from all of this?
Well, I think Sivers' story really highlights the importance of challenging conventional wisdom,
Not being afraid to break the rules.
to consider different approaches, even if they seem counterintuitive,
It's about embracing that power of starting small, being resourceful.
and focusing on creating genuine value for your customers.
Sivers also reminds us about clear communication,
It's crucial in every aspect of business.
whether it's marketing, legal stuff, even just talking to your team,
Clarity can prevent so many headaches.
and build stronger relationships.
And maybe most importantly, Sivers encourages us to define our own success.
It's not just about money, but finding meaning and purpose.
It's okay to say no to things that don't align with your values.
To prioritize your well-being and happiness.
His story shows the power of authenticity, integrity.
And the courage to forge your own path, even when it's different.
It's a reminder that success doesn't have to come at the expense of our values or happiness.
We can build businesses and lives that reflect our passions
Prioritize human connection.
and make a positive impact on the world.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Hope you enjoyed it.
Until next time.